Hello, everyone, and welcome to All Things Politics. I'm your host, Bub. Let's get right to it. Today, February 1st, commemorates the 50-year-long anniversary or celebration of so-called Black History Month here in the United States. 1 month out of 12, I guess a lot would think is significant, is sufficient. It should be enough or suffice. But Blacks, knowing what we know, being a part of this country since its inception, understand that without us, this country would not exist to be the so-called powerhouse it describes itself. Um, Now, couple that with the fact that for all the things we've contributed to society, not just here in the United States, but to the world on a whole, it's no wonder, or it is a wonder as to why Blacks have not contributed the same to their community, to their collective, as much as they've done to the world over. A lot would like to say or point at the fact that, well, there's a lot in place in the system that keeps us from elevating, from empowering ourselves to such a point where we learn or we know how to work together to accomplish those things that will put us in the seat of power. A seat, no doubt, is being denied to us for any number of reasons. The history speaks for itself in terms of Blacks' involvement, their integration into not just local politics or the nation's politics, but world politics. Um, so we have that. We have whatever our contributions are, and those around us recognizing them to some extent. However, where are the contributions to us as a whole that again would empower us, lift us up, and propel us to greatness as a unit, as a collective, as a people? A lot is being bantied about as to why that isn't a reality. A lot has to do with um, systematic racism, or social injustices, all of which, or both of which, Blacks can speak to and point to the evidence thereof. However, there's a thinking that, in spite of all that, we know these things. We know these things wholeheartedly. We know them completely. It's in our DNA to understand most of everything that is going on or has been going on with our people. And yet, we have not risen above a standard or together as a unit to show the world that, we are one. There's a saying, and on one of my channels, they say be one equals Black first. We have yet to realize that concept. And I think as a result of, we find ourselves in these positions where we're being handed crumbs 1 month in a year for recognition in terms of our contributions to society is shameful, it's disgraceful, and disrespectful to boot. To help me carry this point, I have a clip I want to share with everyone. In this clip, it actually speaks to part of what the problem is as to why we aren't in a position of power as we should be. Take a listen, please. This is Dr. Claude Anderson, okay? And part of the title is inappropriate behavior. So listen closely.
It's the same thing.
Dr. Claude Anderson begins by explaining how the Haitian Revolution sent shockwaves throughout the slave-holding world. Enslaved Africans across the Americas were inspired by the fact that Black people had successfully overthrown European domination and established their own nation through unity, discipline, and force. This moment terrified white supremacist power structures because it proved that enslaved people were capable of organizing and winning. In response, slave societies intensified systems of control, not just physical punishment, but psychological conditioning to prevent similar uprisings elsewhere. According to Dr. Anderson, the greatest threat was no longer rebellion itself, but Black unity. To neutralize that threat, white supremacists implemented mental conditioning designed to make enslaved people docile, divided, and hostile toward one another. Dr. Anderson then delivers a sobering critique of modern Black America, noting that despite an abundance of college degrees, professional titles, and academic intelligence, Black people still struggle to defeat white supremacy as a system. He points out that history repeatedly shows intelligent populations being conquered by groups with less formal education, but stronger unity, organization, and strategic discipline. Intelligence alone, he argues, does not produce power. Without collective goals, economic discipline, and group loyalty, knowledge becomes ineffective against organized domination.
Now, there were some other Blacks who jumped up and said,
oh, let me stop right there. It's such a grand point was made right there. That is what's missing from the Black community on a whole, especially here in these United States. We tend to show others our disdain for one another as much as our disunity. We tend to show that not only is there not unity, there isn't any discipline. You know, there's no strategy in place to combat that which we know have brought us nothing but oppression, suppression, death, and all sorts of atrocities. And yet we have not figured out a way to come together to overtake or overcome these tools, or these tools are means to keep us in place. We haven't found a way to overcome any of that. And I think that's the sad part. That's the sad part about all this. But listen a little further, please.
I'm not going to go for that okie doke. One of the first ones in 1800 was Gabriel Prosser. Gabriel was an extremely smart Black.
For context, he's sharing with the audience, most of the Black audience, the slave revolt that took place in the late in 1700s and 1800s, all because of the revolt in Haiti by Toussaint Louverture and his band of ex-slaves. What that did for others in the United States was inspire them, motivate them to fight for freedom, to fight for freedom from bondage and slavery.
Guy. He says, I just heard about what Toussaint Louverture did down in the islands, and said, if Toussaint can do it, I'm going to do it here. He said, I'm going to do the same thing. And he did some planning and you couldn't believe. He worked, he planned, he schemed. Prosser really worked on his thing. And he planned one of the most devastatingly, strategically well-planned insurrections on earth. And before I tell you what he did, let me go back and make this point. I tracked between 1710 and 1860, and we had a possible 150 to 200 possible slave revolts. And in all 150 to 200 of them, a Black person squealed in every one of them and got his meritorious manumission and his Willie Lynch badge card. And so when Prosser was trying to pull his together, he planned his scheme. And in the day he was supposed to have his big revolt, would you believe one of the most severe storms that had ever hit Virginia came in and washed out most of the land and roads and bridges, and Prosser's group couldn't get together, their gathering point, because they were planning on hitting three things. They were planning on taking over the penitentiary in Richmond, they were planning on taking over the armory, and they were planning on attacking the town and annihilating the town, everybody except the Methodists and the Quakers, who had befriended them. And the storm struck just as they're going to assemble. And only 300 showed up, and Prosser said, well, since only 300 of us here, let's put it off until next week when the land is dry and clear. And within 3 days, a Black person squealed. Prosser was arrested along with 35 of his supporters. They were executed, hanged, and heads chopped off and put on poles. But the two Blacks that did the squealing, one was called Tom, the other was called Pharaoh. And I don't know, God knows it because I don't know. Why is the name of a Black person Tom, you almost guess he's going to do something.
And I think that is also erroneous when we think of Tom, the word Tom, and we use it on our people in a derogatory way. It's actually the wrong title. It's the wrong address to put on a person. That when we say Uncle Tom, it's not correct. Uncle Tom came from a book by Mary Beecher Stowe, the book Uncle Tom's Cabin. See, that's the thing about the narratives. When narratives are controlled by other people instead of us understanding and knowing what the narrative truly is, we tend to take what they say and run with it. Uncle Tom in the book was not a sellout. He was not a traitor. It was someone else in the book, and his name was Sambo. That is the real turncoat. Uncle Tom was never the turncoat or the traitor to his people. It was Sambo. And this is what this piece covers. This is what this piece addresses.
Now, I don't know, and I don't mean to put down anybody here named Tom, but there's something about that name. And Pharaoh itself is not too much of an exciting name. I wouldn't trust that name either. If somebody, my mother named me Pharaoh, I know I'm in a world of trouble too. But anyway, Tom and Pharaoh turned in Prosser. They executed Prosser, chopped his head off along with some other and hung him up on poles. Mm. But the thing that became very important in that case, though, was that the town was really fearful because they found out from rumors that Prosser had lined up somewhere between 5,000 and 50,000 slaves. Mm. The whites all through Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina was paralyzed. Their mouths fell open, their eyes they popped, and they said, oh, something is wrong. Mm. You mean
something is wrong other than the fact that you have human beings as chattel, as property. But something is wrong that these same human beings decide that they want to affect freedom or change for them and theirs, you know, so something's wrong with that.
You mean tell me we put a conditioning system on black folk where we turn everything upside down, and this black guy was able to do the impossible without an education? Something is wrong with our system. What's wrong? And I'm serious, this was a big issue. They had to find out how this one black guy get together as a slave and have something between 5,000 and 50,000 blacks ready to fight. And had not been for a storm, they'd have taken over the country.
Pouring more into social and search, Dave just realized that it brings less with every dollar spent. Other advertisers.
And finally,
and that's their fear. That's their fear. This is why we see the miseducation of the African American or the black man here in America. This is why we see divide and conquer tactics in every space or institution, you know, that we know of or that they create. This is why we see what's going on in our communities, gang warfare, what we see on social media, black pitted against black, no matter what, you know, station in life they're in, be they athletes, entertainers, politicians, even businessmen. There's always an issue with each other, but no one else. So they want it that way because the fear is that if we come together, when we come together, in their minds, they're done for.
Came out through another rumor, speculations, that what it was that he had beat the symbolism. To show you how important symbols are. That's why I keep telling about powernomics. To get out of your system, sometimes you're lost. You look up at a mountain, you look up at a peak, you look for the Penobscot building or the Empire State Building, you find your symbol, and you can find your direction. And what that black Prosser done, he looked at the state seal. The state of Virginia had a seal where it had a white man lying prostrate and a black man's foot on his chest. White and the black guy was called, and then in the seal it said Verticus overcomes Tyrannus. And that black man had used that seal as his motivating force, his guiding light for his people. And when whites found that out, immediately they changed the Virginia seal and said, get rid of that seal fast. And put up guards around the Capitol to make sure it didn't happen again. And that was in 1800. By 1821, another black named Vesey got equally as concerned.
You know, it's no wonder then, again, why those in power here in this country, whites, act the way they do, especially excuse me, when it comes to us, it's because of fear of what we can accomplish. So in order to make sure that never comes to pass, they devise plans. They have think tanks, you know, and a playbook they work from, and they devise ideas, narratives, even, you know, solutions to what they consider to be or could be future or potential problems for them. Most of it begins with divide and conquer. Just real basic, you know, that term, divide and conquer.
He had heard about it. He said he's going to try it in South Carolina and try another revolt. But VC says up front, VC organized his group. He walked around. He was a free black. He got free because he bought his own, paid $600 and freed himself. He won money in a lottery. But he's very upset because he couldn't buy his children out of slavery. So VC would walk through the town in Charleston, South Carolina, telling black folk, get that hump out of your back. Straighten up. Be respectful. Take care of your own people. Look out for your own people. Quit trying to worry about everybody and look out for yourselves.
Did you hear that? Get that hump out your back. Take care of yourself. Take care of your people. Carry yourself with dignity, pride. And then that's something we don't see in our communities today. Most of our sisters are scantily dressed. You know, just the actions, the way they carry themselves would describe them as promiscuous. Brothers could care even less. You know, it's sad. There's no dignity and no pride. And this is part of the problem. We needed more Vacies. We need more brothers to come up. And when we see, but hey, man, get that hump out your back. Get it together.
And VC was he was a big man too, a big broad man. He said, I'll break your back if I catch you bending over. And he planned an insurrection. And he called something like about 300 to 500 together to take over Charleston, South Carolina. But he told them up front, he said, let me tell you all something. He says, if I catch one black in this group trying to get meritorious manumission.
Meritorious manumission, freedom. And now imagine trying to tell some brothers or sisters that in today's time, if I catch one of y'all serving the master, so to speak, I'm going to break your back. It won't be an hour before the master's knocking at your door to take you to jail.
I'm going to snap your neck like a twig. And he planned a revolt. And unfortunately, again, 2 days before his revolt was supposed to occur, not only was he squealed on once, he was squealed on twice.
Wow. Once ain't enough.
So VC was picked up along with about 37 of his people and hung. Because, again, they sold him out. Then by 1831, Nat Turner, you already know about, tried the same thing a few years later, in 31. Nat Turner says that I'm not even going to go through those changes. I'm not going to do what VC did. I'm not going to do what Prosser did. I'm not even going to play that silly game. He said, what I'm telling you I'm going to do? He said, I'm going to break out of here. I'm getting me a knife, gun, sword, stick, tools, bricks, anything I can get. I'm killing anything I see that moves, crawls, jumps, walks, and talks.
Like this. You didn't look happy. Oh, wow.
We got that reggaeton. Today, we're going to be making beats you guys sent.
That's exactly what I'm quoting him. He says, I'm the rod and staff of God. I'm not playing these silly games. I'm tired.
That's right.
And so Turner started walking, saying he was a sword in the voice of God. He said, I'm going to kill anything I see moving. He killed 55 people, including his own master.
Man, imagine that. Imagine that being a brother said enough is enough. Whether you coming with me or not, it's going to go down. And hopefully I do it in such a way that it inspires and motivates you to want to do the same. Turn it on its ear, you know. That's some serious stuff, man. That is some serious stuff.
And then the country got petrified again and sent the army in looking for him. They searched for Nat Turner for 2 months and couldn't find him. He hid out because he killed so many people. Until one day he needed food and went down to get some blacks to get some food. And guess what happened?
Yeah.
Turned them in. And so that took care of Nat Turner. Same time, there's one other black, though, which is my hero. I don't know how much time I got. How much? Long as I want. Okay. Okay, thank you. You see, you all are so nice. That's why I love coming to this city. Boy, I swear, I love you. I'm going to move out here pretty soon. But my hero is John Horse. We start talking about inappropriate behavior versus appropriate behavior. Now, here's a black man at the same time period displayed what I call appropriate behavior. No Rodney King stuff, you see? John Horse was a runaway slave who would also run off to Florida in the early 1800s in the same period when VC and Turner and the rest of them were trying to revolt. John Horse was a big, burly, strong black man. He ran off to Florida. Contrary to what you hear all the time in the media about the Underground Railroad, all blacks trying to get north, get to the promised land. That's a part of that myth. Most blacks weren't that dumb. Why would they want to go all the way across go to the north 1,000 miles to a hostile white country when they could run out to Florida, which is Spanish territory 20 miles away or 2 feet away? So some of the smarter blacks of our relatives ran off to Florida because that was Spanish territory. And they got down and they interbred and intermixed with the Seminoles. Now, you all might ask me why about Seminoles. Now, Seminoles were also against blacks, a lot of them, but a lot of them were not. Seminoles were the most receptive Indians to do anything with blacks in the country. Why? Because you see, the word Seminole means runaway slave. Okay? And they were also runaways. They interbred with blacks. They were a mixture of blacks. So they were very receptive to black folk. And so they started fighting in that area to fight the United States because the United States, they want to go down there and try to get the slaves back. And that's what they were sending General Andrew Jackson to Florida for, to get the slaves. Because you see, blacks down there were coming across the border periodically with the Indians, raiding and killing whites and getting their people free. Now, why is that important? Because you see, when I talked about early inappropriate behavior in Africa, the reason they enslaved black folk originally was because our leaders in Africa had given the impression that I don't care about other black folk.
And that's the impression that a lot of us give out to other people other than black folk, that they don't care. As long as you take care of me, master, I'm fine with whatever goes on, whatever you do. Just look out for me. That's inappropriate behavior, all right? And this is what we witness every day. You see it in social media every day, and brothers are quick to tell you that too. Hey, man, I don't give a damn about you. I got mine. I'm working with them. They're giving me the bag. Inappropriate behavior.
And they hauled all those blacks around the world because they knew in their hearts they would never see a shipload of Africans coming to get them back. They never suspected that Africans would come to save Africans. But that's why they didn't try to enslave Indians, because they knew if they didn't enslave Indians, Indians would come get their people. But they knew that black leadership in Africa had already said, you can have them, I don't want them, I won't come to get them. And so when the blacks went off into the South, into Florida, they were coming across the border, raiding those plantations along Alabama and the Georgia border there, South Carolina border, taking their people, taking them back to down to Florida, getting them free. But John Horse was a leading hero to me. Now this black hooked up, he became sort of like the second in charge in in Florida. The chief at that time during the 1820s and 1830s was a chief named Osceola. Osceola had about 3 sons that were very active also, fighting white intrusion into Florida to get the slaves back. His number 1 son was a white, a mixture of black and white. His name was Wildcat. And Osceola himself, if you all don't know it, Osceola was married to a black woman. You might see Osceola's pictures in all the museums as an Indian. They don't ever tell you that he was married to a black woman and had a mixed group. And he married to a black woman. His black woman's name was Morning Dew, if you're interested in knowing it. Morning Dew was the one, and that's what triggered the Seminole Wars. They don't tell you that in the history books either. So going back and forth down there, they were trying to get the Indians back. I mean, trying to get the slaves back from the Indians. And they kept sending the federal troops in there. And Andrew Jackson was one of the primary generals that always wanted to go out there and fight Indians. He loved to fight Indians, known as the Indian fighter. And that's why you have Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, we're going to end it right there. It's a long piece, but I'm comfortable, or I'm okay, content with the fact that I brought this piece to the viewers because I thought it was necessary. This is February the 1st. This is what they call Black History Month. See, some of Black history, you know, it's not spoken, you know, it's not discussed, and very few of us know it. The Black history they want us to know, that they continue to teach us, is only about really slavery mostly, and whatever leaders they deem worthy or significant enough to help their cause, help them along, to bring before us. We never get the true story. We never get the full story. We always only get certain narratives of stories in history, especially our history, Black history. All right. We're in a time where we have inappropriate behavior. And regardless if it's the month of February to the month of December, we have inappropriate behavior amongst our people in our communities. All right. We have those with celebrity and those with money who are inappropriate or display inappropriate behavior. They are with the program. They work with the system. Nicki Minaj, for instance, anyone's check out the news lately, we see how she's kowtowing to Trump. Anton Daniels, he was called on by Corey Holcomb's, called out for not criticizing his white master. You know, Stephen A. Smith is another individual. Get up there, man, and the first thing he do, chop blacks off at the knees. He don't care one way or another if it's a sister or a brother. But those are just examples, you know. Those are examples on a level where, you know, these type of individuals, as far as the system is concerned, could be or considered to be gatekeepers in a way. All right, in a way. Those though that are marginalized, you know, on the low end of the wrong, those we know all too well. We see them every day. A lot of us turn a blind eye and talk to them anyway in hopes that they'll get some crumbs, you know, crumbs from them that the master gave to them, you know, hope that they sprinkle a little bit their way. The issue, though, is this: no matter what month of the year it is, our history needs to be discussed in such a way to where we get to the point where we understand what our purpose is, because the history actually gives you a view into where you're supposed to be headed, where you're supposed to be going. All right. Sometimes, though, there are factors at play that prevents the empowerment or the enfranchisement of Black folk, you know, the uplifting, and that sometimes those problems sometimes are problems we create, are problems that come to us from our own kind. A lot of them just want to be pleasing to the master. They want the white man's love, and if they figure if they get it, then they can eat. You know, the white man won't do nothing to them. They let them play ball, and they're more than willing to play ball. Let this month, not just this month, let this year be the year of accountability. Let's start to hold ourselves and others accountable for their actions, especially those inappropriate behaviors that don't do any of us any good. All right. This is All Things Politics. You guys have a good night. Take care of yourself and one another.